I'm Mason, 26 years old, and I never thought my greatest academic achievement would lead to my greatest betrayal. After years of hard work, I'd earned a full scholarship to Oxford. A dream come true for a kid from my background. But the morning of my departure, my passport vanished. When I confronted my family at the dining room table, my sister Allison smirked as she revealed she had taken it. Then came words from my parents I'll never forget. It wasn't meant for you. Before I continue this unbelievable story, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. Hit that subscribe button if you've ever been betrayed by the people who should have supported you most. Growing up in a middle-class neighborhood in Boston shaped my perspective on life. Our family wasn't poor, but we weren't wealthy either. My parents, Robert and Linda, worked steady jobs that paid the bills but left little room for extras. From an early age, I found solace in books and learning, often spending weekends at the local library while other kids played sports or video games. My academic excellence began in elementary school. Despite our limited resources, I consistently earned top grades and praise from teachers. I still remember my third-grade teacher, Mrs. Johnson, telling my parents at a conference, "Mason has exceptional potential. He thinks differently than most children his age." My mother nodded politely but quickly changed the subject to ask about my sister Allison's struggling performance. This pattern continued throughout my childhood. Allison, 3 years older than me, bounced between interests and career paths with alarming frequency. She tried community college for a semester before dropping out. Then came her photography phase, followed by an attempt at starting an online boutique. Then aspirations of becoming a real estate agent. Each new venture began with enthusiasm and ended with excuses, yet my parents funded every failure. "Your sister is finding herself," my mother would explain whenever I questioned the disparity in their support. "She's a creative spirit. Not everyone is meant to follow a traditional path." Meanwhile, my traditional path received minimal acknowledgement. When I graduated high school as valedictorian, my father's only comment was, "Don't let it go to your head." When I earned a partial scholarship to Boston University, my mother wondered aloud if I might be happier at a school closer to home, where Allison had briefly attended. I discovered my dream of studying abroad during sophomore year of college. Professor Hammond's British literature course opened my eyes to educational opportunities in England. For 2 years, I researched programs, maintained a perfect GPA, and worked part-time jobs to save money. The Rhodes Cambridge International Scholarship became my target, highly competitive but life-changing if awarded. The application process was grueling. Letters of recommendation, essays, interviews, and constant refinement of my research proposal. I slept 4 hours a night for months, balancing my regular coursework with scholarship requirements. When other students partied on weekends, I drafted and redrafted application materials. The day I submitted my final application, my father asked, "What's your backup plan when this doesn't work out?" Not if, when. His pessimism stung. But I'd grown accustomed to it. Our family's financial situation made the scholarship my only viable path to Oxford. International tuition would have been impossible otherwise. I calculated budgets obsessively, researched housing options, and connected with current students to understand true living costs. This opportunity represented not just academic advancement but financial independence from a family that had always made me feel like an afterthought. My mother's subtle favoritism toward Allison manifested in countless small ways. Christmas presents where Allison received thoughtful gifts while I got generic gift cards. Family photos where I was positioned at the edge, easily croppable. Conversations that ended when I entered a room. Each instance seemed minor in isolation but formed a pattern impossible to ignore. My father maintained emotional distance from both children, but his rare moments of connection were reserved for Allison. He attended her art show opening but claimed work conflicts prevented him from my honor society induction. He helped her move apartments but was too busy to visit my university showcase. There were warning signs I should have recognized sooner. When I won a prestigious undergraduate research grant, my mother remarked, "I hope this doesn't make your sister feel bad about herself." When I was published in an academic journal, my father questioned whether I had realistic expectations about academic careers. Each achievement of mine seemed to threaten some unspoken family balance. Despite this history, I remained optimistic that the Oxford scholarship would finally earn their respect. This wasn't just another academic honor, this was international recognition, a fully funded opportunity that students worldwide competed for. Surely this would be enough to make them proud. I couldn't have been more wrong. The email arrived on a Tuesday afternoon in February. I was in the university library, researching for a term paper, when my phone buzzed with a notification. The subject line read, "Rhodes Cambridge International Scholarship Selection Committee, congratulations." My hands trembled as I opened it. The first sentence confirmed what the subject had implied. I had been selected. Full tuition, living stipend, research funding, and mentorship from leading scholars in my field. Out of thousands of applicants worldwide, they had chosen me. I called Professor Hammond immediately. "They said yes," I managed to say, my voice cracking with emotion. "Mason! That's incredible news!" he exclaimed. "I knew you could do it. This is going to change your life." I sat in stunned silence for several minutes after our call ended, rereading the email to confirm it wasn't a mistake. Then I gathered my belongings and rushed home to share the news with my family. They were all in the living room when I arrived. My father watching television, my mother folding laundry. Allison scrolling through her phone. "I got it," I announced, unable to contain my smile. "The Oxford scholarship. I got it." My father glanced up briefly. "That's nice. Did you remember to take out the trash this morning?" My mother offered a tight smile. "That's a long way to go for school. Are you sure about this?" Allison didn't look up from her phone. "Does this mean you're giving up your apartment? Because I could use some of your furniture if you are." I stood there, deflated. This was life-changing news. And they treated it like I'd mentioned a change in the weather forecast. After a few awkward moments, the conversation shifted to my cousin's upcoming wedding. My scholarship wasn't mentioned again that evening. In the weeks that followed, I noticed a shift in family dynamics. Allison, usually dismissive of my academic pursuits, suddenly had endless questions about the scholarship. What exactly did it cover? Who were the contacts at Oxford? Would I have a private apartment? How much was the living stipend? My parents began expressing concerns they'd never mentioned before. My mother worried about my asthma, which hadn't been an issue since childhood. "The English climate might not agree with you," she insisted. My father questioned whether my degree would be recognized when I returned to America, despite Oxford's world-renowned status. 3 weeks after the announcement, I overheard a phone conversation between my mother and Allison, who had moved out years ago but visited frequently. "He doesn't understand what an opportunity like this could mean for someone who really needs it," my mother said in a hushed voice. "He's always had everything come easily to him." Allison's response was too quiet to hear, but my mother continued, "We'll discuss it more when you come over tomorrow. Don't say anything to him yet." Their words left me confused and uneasy. What opportunity were they referring to? And in what universe had things come easily to me? Every achievement had been earned through relentless work, often without any family support. As my departure date approached, the passive-aggressive comments increased. During Sunday dinner, my father asked, "Have you considered deferring for a year? Allison might have her business plan ready by then." "What business plan?" I asked. "And what does that have to do with my scholarship?" "Nothing," my mother interjected quickly. "Your father is just thinking about family timing." Allison would change the subject whenever I entered a room where she was speaking with our parents. Twice I found her at my desk, claiming she was borrowing a pen or looking for scissors. Once I caught her photographing my acceptance documents with her phone. "Just showing my friends how fancy it looks," she explained with an unconvincing laugh. In contrast to my family's strange behavior, my friends and professors were genuinely excited for me. A week before my scheduled departure, my roommate Tyler organized a celebration dinner with our friend group. "To Mason," Tyler toasted, raising his glass. "Brilliant mind, loyal friend, and soon-to-be Oxford scholar. We always knew you were destined for greatness." Around that table, surrounded by people who valued my hard work and supported my dreams, I felt a pang of sadness. Why couldn't my own family see me the way my friends did? Why did my success seem to threaten rather than delight them? I returned home that night to find Allison's car in our driveway. Though it was nearly midnight, through the living room window, I could see her engaged in intense conversation with our parents. When I entered, they fell silent immediately. "Late night family meeting?" I asked, trying to keep my tone light. "Just catching up," my father replied. "Nothing important." But their expressions told a different story. Something was happening beneath the surface, something connected to my scholarship and departure. At the time, I couldn't imagine just how far they would go to undermine everything I'd worked for. The day before my flight to England arrived with a mixture of excitement and anxiety. My suitcases stood packed and ready in my bedroom, containing the carefully selected belongings I'd need for my new life abroad. I'd spent weeks creating detailed packing lists, researching Oxford's climate, and determining what essentials to bring versus what could be purchased after arrival. That morning, I woke early to complete final preparations. My flight would depart the following day at 10 a.m., meaning I needed to be at Logan Airport by 7 a.m. I'd arranged for Tyler to drive me, not trusting my family to get me there on time given their recent behavior. I sat at my desk, reviewing my checklist for the dozenth time: passport, visa documentation, acceptance letter, housing confirmation, health insurance verification, international banking details. Everything was organized in a blue folder I'd purchased specifically for travel documents. I placed this folder in my carry-on backpack, where it would remain easily accessible. Around noon, Allison arrived unexpectedly. "Thought I'd help you with last-minute preparations," she announced, following me to my room uninvited. "I'm pretty much set," I replied, watching as her eyes scanned my organized luggage. "Let me see what you're bringing," she insisted, opening my suitcase without permission. "You'll probably forget something important." "You always do." I bristled at her comment but remained silent as she rummaged through my carefully packed clothes. When she reached for my backpack, I stepped forward. "That's all set. Just has my documents and electronics. I'm just making sure you're organized," she said, pulling the backpack away from my reach. "Remember when you forgot your student ID on the first day of college? Mom had to drive it to you. That was 6 years ago," I pointed out. "I think I can manage my passport." She finally relinquished my backpack with a shrug. "Just trying to help. You're so sensitive lately." Later that afternoon, my mother cornered me in the kitchen while I made a sandwich. "Have you really thought this through?" she asked, leaning against the counter. "Moving across the ocean, away from everyone who cares about you. For 2 years, Mom. It's not forever. And it's Oxford. This is the opportunity of a lifetime. Family should come first," she replied. "Your sister is finally getting her life together. She could use your support right now." I placed my knife down carefully. I've supported Allison through dozens of false starts. This is my future we're talking about. That's exactly the selfish attitude I'm worried about," she said, her voice hardening. "This scholarship has changed you. You think you're better than us now." The conversation devolved from there, with my mother suggesting I was abandoning the family and wasting my talents on showing off internationally when I could be helping Allison establish her newest business idea. My father joined the criticism during dinner, suddenly expressing concerns about finances. "Have you calculated how much this will really cost?" he demanded. "Scholarships always have hidden expenses. The scholarship is comprehensive," I explained for what felt like the 100th time. "Tuition, housing, meals, books, research expenses. Even a travel stipend. And when you come back with a foreign degree no American employer recognizes? What then?" he challenged. "Oxford is one of the most prestigious universities in the world," I countered, struggling to maintain my composure. "If anything, it makes me more employable." My father shook his head dismissively. "Always have all the answers, don't you?" After dinner, I escaped to run essential last-minute errands, picking up British currency from the bank, purchasing travel-sized toiletries, and buying a small gift for Professor Hammond, who had been instrumental in my application process. When I returned, I found Allison exiting my bedroom. "What were you doing in there?" I asked, suspicion immediately flaring. "Borrowing your phone charger," she claimed, though I could see her charger plugged into her phone in her back pocket. "Please stay out of my room," I said firmly. "God, you're paranoid." She scoffed, walking away. That evening, Professor Hammond called to wish me safe travels. "Everything set for tomorrow?" he asked. "All packed and ready," I confirmed. "Though my family is acting strange about the whole thing. Families can be complicated about success," he said thoughtfully. "Sometimes when one member advances, it forces others to confront their own choices. Just focus on this amazing opportunity. You've earned it." His words reassured me, and I went to bed early, setting multiple alarms for 5:30 a.m. As I drifted off to sleep, I double-checked that my backpack with the document folder was positioned beside my bed, within arm's reach. That night, I dreamed of walking through Oxford's historic buildings, only to find myself in endless corridors that led back to my parents' dining room, where Allison sat wearing an Oxford robe, telling me I didn't belong there. I woke briefly at 2 a.m., disturbed by the dream's implications, before falling back into uneasy sleep. I couldn't have known then that my subconscious was warning me of exactly what was about to unfold. My alarm blared at 5:30 a.m., jolting me from sleep. Today was the day. In less than 24 hours, I would be in England, beginning my Oxford journey. I silenced the alarm and reached for my backpack, wanting to review my documents one final time before showering. The backpack felt lighter than it should have. A cold wave of dread washed over me as I unzipped the main compartment. My laptop was there, as were my headphones and chargers. But the blue document folder was missing. "No, no, no," I muttered, dumping the contents onto my bed. Nothing. I checked the smaller pockets, then rechecked the main compartment. The folder was gone. I tore apart my room, checking under the bed, inside my suitcases, between books on my shelf. The folder had vanished. With rising panic, I tried to recall if I had moved it. Had I placed it elsewhere for safekeeping? But I knew my system too well. The folder had been in my backpack when I went to sleep. My phone showed 5:45 a.m. Tyler would arrive to drive me to the airport in just over an hour. Without my passport and visa documentation, I couldn't board my international flight. Years of work, months of preparation, all potentially derailed. I threw on a t-shirt and sweatpants and rushed downstairs. To my surprise, lights were already on in the kitchen. I found my parents and Allison sitting at the dining room table, fully dressed, drinking coffee as if it were a normal hour to be awake. "Good morning," my mother said calmly. "You're up early." "My documents are missing," I said, studying their faces. "My passport, visa, acceptance letter, everything. They were in a blue folder in my backpack." No one responded immediately. My father sipped his coffee. Allison examined her fingernails. "Did anyone come into my room last night?" I pressed, my voice rising. "This isn't funny. I have a flight in 4 hours. Sit down." "Mason," My father finally said, gesturing to an empty chair. I don't have time to sit. I need my documents. Sit down. His tone left no room for argument. I reluctantly took the seat, my heart pounding. What's going on? My mother reached across the table and patted my hand in a gesture that felt patronizing rather than comforting. We need to talk about this Oxford situation. There's nothing to talk about. I earned that scholarship. I'm leaving today. Where are my documents? A smirk spread across Allison's face. The kind I'd seen countless times throughout our childhood when she'd gotten her way at my expense. She reached into her purse and removed my blue folder, placing it on the table just beyond my reach. You took my passport? I lunged for the folder, but my father's hand came down on top of it first. We said we need to talk, he repeated. This is illegal, I pointed out, trying to keep my voice steady. Stealing someone's passport is a federal offense. Don't be dramatic, my mother sighed. We're your parents. We're looking out for your best interests. By stealing my travel documents? How is that in my best interest? My father cleared his throat. This scholarship opportunity, it's excellent. But the timing isn't right for you. What are you talking about? The program starts next week. The thing is, Mason, my mother continued as if I hadn't spoken. Allison has been developing a business plan that requires international connections. The kind Oxford could provide. I stared at them in disbelief as understanding dawned. Are you saying Allison should go to Oxford instead of me? On MY scholarship? It makes more sense, my father stated flatly. Your sister needs this opportunity more than you do. You've always succeeded at everything. Allison deserves a chance. That's not how scholarships work. I exploded. They selected me based on my academic record, my research proposal, my interviews. You can't just substitute one person for another like it's a dinner reservation. We've thought this through. My mother insisted. Allison could use your acceptance materials to get established there, then transfer to a business program once she's settled. I looked at my sister, who didn't even have the decency to appear embarrassed by this absurd plan. You think you can just pretend to be me? Use my identity? My credentials? She shrugged. It's not that complicated. We look similar enough in passport photos. Once I'm there, it wouldn't matter. The casual way they discussed this scheme, identity theft, fraud, impersonation, left me speechless. These were my parents, the people who had taught me right from wrong, now suggesting criminal activity as if discussing vacation plans. It wasn't meant for you, my father said, repeating the phrase that would forever change how I viewed my family. This scholarship should go to someone who truly needs a fresh start. I earned it, I said, my voice breaking. Every hour studying, every application essay, every interview question, that was all me. Allison didn't do any of that work. Don't be selfish, my mother chided. Family helps family. You've always had everything come easily to you. This narrative, that I somehow hadn't earned my achievements, was perhaps the cruelest aspect of their betrayal. I had sacrificed social events, sleep, relationships, all in pursuit of academic excellence. Nothing had come easily. Give me my documents, I demanded, standing up. This conversation is over. If you take this folder, my father warned, you're choosing yourself over your sister's future. Is that really the kind of person you want to be? The emotional manipulation was so transparent it would have been laughable if it weren't so devastating. In that moment, I realized how deeply dysfunctional our family dynamic truly was. This wasn't just about the scholarship. This was the culmination of a lifetime of favoritism, dismissal, and conditional love. Yes, I answered firmly. I am choosing myself. Because none of you will. I reached across the table and grabbed the folder from under my father's loosened grip. Allison tried to snatch it back, but I stepped away quickly. You'll regret this. My mother called as I headed for the stairs. When you're alone in England with no family support, you'll understand what you've thrown away. I turned back one last time. What I understand is that my family was willing to steal my future to give it to someone who hasn't earned it. That's what I'll remember in England. With my documents secured, I returned to my room and called Tyler, asking if he could come immediately rather than in an hour. I needed to escape this house before my family attempted something else. As I waited by the window for Tyler's car, I heard my parents and Allison arguing downstairs, their voices rising. My name was mentioned repeatedly, alongside words like ungrateful and selfish. The family I had known was revealing itself to be something entirely different from what I had believed. Tyler arrived within 15 minutes. I carried my luggage out without saying goodbye, closing the door on what would be the last time I entered my childhood home for a very long time. Tyler's car had barely pulled away from my parents' house when my phone exploded with texts and calls. I silenced it, unable to process more family drama while trying to make my flight. Want to tell me what's going on? Tyler asked, glancing at my phone lighting up repeatedly in my lap. My family just tried to steal my passport to prevent me from going to Oxford, I said, the words sounding absurd even as I spoke them. They wanted Allison to use my scholarship instead. Tyler nearly swerved off the road. They what? How would that even work? It wouldn't, I replied. That's the craziest part. They seem to think a prestigious international scholarship can just be transferred to another person regardless of qualifications. Once we reached a rest stop to grab coffee, I finally read through the barrage of messages. My mother claimed I was tearing the family apart with my selfishness. My father demanded I return home immediately to fix this situation. Allison's messages were the most revealing, threatening to tell everyone what you did. If I didn't make this right. What exactly does she think I did? I wondered aloud to Tyler. Earn a scholarship? Work hard for years? Follow application instructions? At the airport, I called Professor Hammond while waiting to check in. His reaction confirmed the absurdity of my family's plan. They tried to do what? He exclaimed after I explained the situation. Mason, that's not just inappropriate, it's potentially criminal. Identity fraud, academic fraud. I'm speechless. They genuinely believe Allison deserves my spot, I said, still struggling to comprehend their reasoning. This is troubling on multiple levels, he responded. I think you should know, the department received strange emails last week from someone claiming to be your family member, asking about transferring scholarship benefits. The committee found it odd and forwarded them to me. I was going to mention it after you got settled. This new information stunned me. While I'd been packing and preparing, my family had been actively trying to undermine me with the very institution that had recognized my potential. What did the emails say exactly? I asked. They inquired whether scholarship funds could be redirected to another student, specifically your sister, claiming you had reconsidered the opportunity. When the administrator explained that scholarships are non-transferable and awarded based on specific criteria, the person became quite insistent. That explains why they took my passport. I realized. When they couldn't convince the university to transfer the scholarship, they decided to physically prevent me from going. Mason, I'm concerned about this situation, Professor Hammond said gravely. This goes beyond family disagreement into potentially illegal territory. I recommend you document everything and consider speaking with the university's legal department when you arrive. After we hung up, I proceeded through security with a strange sense of detachment. The family drama felt surreal compared to the tangible reality of boarding passes, security checkpoints, and gate numbers. While waiting at my gate, I received an email from an unfamiliar address. It contained screenshots of communications between my mother and the Oxford Scholarship Committee. Reading the exchange made my stomach turn. My mother had claimed I was suffering from mental health issues, and not in a state to make major decisions. She had suggested Allison could step in temporarily until I was stable enough to resume studies. The scholarship administrator's response was professional but firm. Scholarships are awarded to specific individuals based on their academic records, research proposals, and interview performance. They cannot be transferred to family members or other students under any circumstances. If Mr. Walker is unable to accept the position, it would be offered to the next candidate on our waiting list. This explained my family's desperate measures. They had tried official channels and been rejected, so they resorted to physically preventing my departure by stealing my documents. Just before boarding, I received a voicemail from my father. His tone had shifted from demanding to threatening. "You've made a serious mistake, Mason. If you get on that plane, don't expect to come back to this house. Allison needs this opportunity more than you do. You're breaking your mother's heart with this selfish behavior." I sat in my assigned seat, processing his words as the plane prepared for takeoff. The family I thought I knew had revealed themselves as people willing to sabotage my future, steal my identity, and emotionally manipulate me when their plans failed. Upon landing at Heathrow, I turned my phone back on to find more messages. The most disturbing was from Allison. "Hope you're happy with yourself. Mom is in tears and Dad is talking about disowning you. I went to your apartment and collected the things you left behind. Either fix this or consider them donated." She had entered my apartment without permission, another boundary crossed. I called my landlord immediately and explained the situation, requesting my locks be changed and no access granted to family members. Then I emailed my academic advisor at Oxford, briefly explaining that I was experiencing family difficulties and might need guidance regarding housing security. The next day, jet-lagged but determined, I met with the university's legal department. Jennifer Wright, the student legal counsel, listened attentively as I recounted the events and showed her the email evidence. "This is highly unusual," she acknowledged, "but unfortunately not unprecedented. We occasionally see family members attempt to interfere with scholarships, though rarely so aggressively." "What should I do?" I asked. "First, secure your documents. Keep your passport and visa paperwork with you at all times until you're settled. Second, notify the scholarship committee about what happened so they're prepared if your family continues contacting them. Third, consider filing a police report regarding the stolen documents, even though you've recovered them. This creates an official record if the situation escalates." I followed her advice, documenting everything meticulously. The Oxford administration was surprisingly understanding, having dealt with various family complications among international students before. A week into my time at Oxford, the university newspaper contacted me for a profile piece on new scholarship recipients. During the interview, I mentioned the challenges some students face when pursuing international education, including family resistance. Without sharing specific details, I emphasized the importance of academic integrity and the merit-based nature of scholarships. "These opportunities aren't family inheritances to be passed around," I explained. "They represent recognition of individual achievement and potential." The article was picked up by several education publications, and unexpectedly by my hometown newspaper. The local angle, "Hometown Student Overcomes Obstacles to Accept Prestigious International Scholarship," caught attention. A reporter contacted me for additional comments about family challenges mentioned in the original piece. While I maintained privacy around the specific actions my family had taken, I spoke candidly about the pressure some first-generation college students face when their academic success takes them far from home. The resulting article featured a photo of me on Oxford's campus and mentioned the Rhodes-Cambridge International Scholarship by name. The story spread further than I anticipated. Local television news featured a brief segment, praising the achievement of a local student and noting that not all families understand the significance of such opportunities. My phone rang that evening. My cousin Rachel, whom I'd always been close with despite limited contact in recent years. "Mason, I just saw you on the news," she said. "But that's not why I'm calling. Your parents are telling everyone you abandoned the family and stole money from Allison's business fund to go to England. I knew that couldn't be right." "They said what?" I was shocked but not entirely surprised. "Rachel, they tried to steal my passport to prevent me from accepting my scholarship. They wanted Allison to somehow take my place." The silence on the other end spoke volumes. "That actually explains some strange comments your mom made at the family barbecue last weekend. She kept saying Allison was supposed to be studying in England, but you sabotaged her opportunity. It was my scholarship," I emphasized, "awarded to me based on my academic record. They literally tried to commit identity fraud." Rachel promised to discreetly correct the narrative with extended family members. Her support was unexpected but deeply appreciated as I navigated this new reality where my immediate family had not only betrayed me but was actively attempting to damage my reputation. The truth was finally emerging, but the pain of betrayal continued to deepen with each new revelation. My first month at Oxford passed in a blur of orientation activities, settling into student housing, and beginning coursework. The academic environment was everything I had hoped for: challenging, stimulating, filled with brilliant minds from around the world. Yet the family situation cast a shadow over what should have been an entirely positive experience. Professor Hammond continued to provide support from afar, scheduling weekly video calls to check on my adjustment. During one such call, he shared disturbing news. "I thought you should know," he said gravely. "Your sister contacted the department secretary claiming to be your academic representative. She requested copies of your scholarship documentation for family records. Of course, nothing was provided. This latest attempt to access my academic information pushed me to take more definitive action. Following Jennifer Wright's advice, I filed a formal report with both campus security and local police regarding identity theft attempts and document theft. Though the passport incident had occurred in America, creating an official record in both countries provided additional protection. Unfortunately, Jennifer explained during our follow-up meeting, family-based identity theft is particularly complicated. Many authorities consider it a family matter rather than criminal activity. Documentation is your best defense. I implemented security measures I never imagined needing against my own family. Passwords on all accounts changed to complex strings they couldn't guess. Two-factor authentication enabled everywhere possible. Mail forwarding set up through a third party to prevent interception. Credit monitoring to catch any attempts to open accounts in my name. 3 European banks rejected my application for a student account due to a fraud alert mysteriously placed on my credit report. Investigation revealed someone had reported my identity stolen by me. The twisted logic was almost impressive. My parents had reported that I was fraudulently using my own identity in England. Resolving this required hours of phone calls, notarized documents, and eventually intervention from the university's International Student Office. The experience transformed me from a naive academic into someone hypervigilant about personal security. My academic advisor, Dr. Eleanor Phillips, noticed the toll these distractions were taking. "Your work is excellent, Mason, but you seem perpetually exhausted. Is everything all right?" After explaining the situation, she connected me with the university's counseling services. Dr. Marcus Bennett specialized in family estrangement issues and helped me navigate the complex emotions, betrayal, anger, grief, guilt, that accompanied my situation. "What you're experiencing is a form of family betrayal trauma," he explained during our sessions. "Your fundamental trust in those who should protect you has been violated. That's not something you simply get over." These conversations helped me recognize that my family's behavior reflected their issues, not my worth. My achievements threatened the narrative they'd constructed where Allison was the one deserving special opportunities despite her lack of follow-through. 6 weeks into the term, the Rhodes Cambridge Scholarship Program held its formal welcome ceremony. traditionally a celebratory event where recipients were officially recognized. It was typically attended by family members or mentors. I invited Professor Hammond, who couldn't attend in person but sent a heartfelt letter of support that was read during the ceremony. What I didn't know was that the event would be covered by educational media, including a live stream for participating universities. This coverage was mentioned in the scholarship newsletter, which was publicly accessible online. When my name was called, I approached the podium with mixed emotions: pride in my achievement, sadness that normal family support was absent, determination to succeed despite obstacles. The university chancellor presented me with the official scholarship certificate, shook my hand, and invited me to say a few words. I hadn't prepared remarks, assuming the ceremony would be a simple formality. Standing before the audience of distinguished academics and fellow scholars, I spoke from the heart. This opportunity represents more than academic recognition to me, I began. It represents the power of merit to open doors that might otherwise remain closed. Many of us have faced obstacles on our journey here: financial constraints, geographic limitations, or even resistance from those who didn't understand our ambitions. The words flowed naturally as I continued. I want to thank those who recognized potential rather than privilege, who valued work ethic over connections, who believed in the transformative power of education. This scholarship affirms that dedication and intellectual curiosity matter more than background or circumstance. I didn't mention my family situation specifically, but my closing statement held personal significance. As we begin this journey, we carry responsibility to honor the merit-based nature of this opportunity, to demonstrate that the selection committee chose wisely, and to ensure that future scholarships continue to reward genuine achievement rather than influence or entitlement. The applause was encouraging, but more meaningful was the nod of approval from Dr. Phillips, who understood the subtext of my words. I had publicly affirmed my right to be there while maintaining dignity about my private struggles. Later that evening, Rachel called again. "Mason, did you know your acceptance speech was live-streamed? Your parents and Allison saw it." "What? How?" "I hadn't considered that possibility." "The university posted the ceremony online. Someone from your old department shared the link on social media, congratulating you. Your mom clicked on it expecting to find evidence you were struggling, but instead saw you being celebrated and speaking confidently to a room full of academics." According to Rachel, my parents and Allison had watched in stunned silence as the chancellor praised my exceptional academic record and compelling research proposal, direct refutation of their narrative that I was somehow undeserving or had obtained the scholarship through luck rather than merit. "Your dad turned it off when you started speaking," Rachel reported. "But Allison watched the whole thing. She didn't say much afterward, just kept repeating that the scholarship should have been transferable since your family." This unexpected exposure marked a turning point. My success was now publicly visible, my achievement officially recognized before an audience that included colleagues from their community. The narrative they had been constructing, that I had somehow cheated Allison out of her opportunity, collapsed when confronted with the reality of the formal ceremony and my composed acceptance. For the first time since the passport incident, I felt a sense of vindication. Not satisfaction in their discomfort, but relief that the truth was asserting itself despite their efforts to distort it. The following week, I received an unexpected email from my mother, the first direct communication since I'd left America. The tone was markedly different from her previous messages. "We saw your ceremony online," she wrote. "You seemed very comfortable in that environment. Perhaps this opportunity was important to you in ways we didn't understand. Allison has been accepted to a business certificate program locally and seems excited about it. Your father asks that you call when you have time." The message contained no apology, no acknowledgement of their actions, no recognition of the harm they had caused. Yet it represented a retreat from active sabotage to reluctant acceptance of reality. They had finally recognized, if not admitted, that their plan had failed completely. I didn't respond immediately, taking time to consult with Dr. Bennett about healthy boundaries moving forward. Together, we drafted a brief, neutral reply that acknowledged their message without opening the door to manipulation. Thank you for the update about Allison's certificate program. I hope it goes well for her. My studies are keeping me fully occupied at present, so regular calls aren't feasible, but I appreciate the invitation and will be in touch when my schedule allows. This measured response established that while I wasn't severing contact entirely, I would engage on my terms, maintaining the distance necessary for my well-being and academic success. With the immediate crisis resolved, I could finally focus fully on the opportunity one had earned, the rigorous coursework, collaborative research, and intellectual community that made Oxford exceptional. The scholarship that was meant for me was finally serving its intended purpose, unclouded by family interference. The Oxford Scholarship ceremony that my family inadvertently witnessed through the livestream marked a fundamental shift in our dynamics. Their failed attempt to sabotage my opportunity had been publicly refuted by the very institution they claimed I didn't deserve to attend. Reality had reasserted itself over their distorted narrative. 6 months into my Oxford experience, I had established a rhythm to my academic life. My research on comparative literature was progressing well, earning positive feedback from advisors. I had formed friendships with fellow scholars from diverse backgrounds, Rajiv from India, Sophia from Brazil, Marcus from South Africa, each bringing unique perspectives to our late-night discussions in college courtyards and local pubs. These relationships proved crucial to my healing process. Unlike my family relationships built on competition and conditional approval, these connections celebrated mutual success and genuine support. When Sophia received a prestigious journal publication, we all gathered to celebrate. When Marcus struggled with research setbacks, we offered encouragement rather than seeing his vulnerability as something to exploit. It's strange, I confided to Rajiv during a walk along the River Thames. I keep waiting for the competition, the undermining comments, the subtle put-downs I grew up with. But everyone here seems genuinely happy when others succeed. That's how it should be, he replied simply. Real achievement isn't a zero-sum game. This perspective helped me recognize how deeply my family's dysfunction had shaped my worldview. I had always assumed that someone's success necessarily came at another's expense, because that's how achievement was treated in my household. Allison couldn't succeed, so I couldn't be allowed to either. My limited communication with my parents remained formal and infrequent. Occasionally they would email updates about extended family or neighborhood news, carefully avoiding any mention of the passport incident or their attempted scholarship theft. I responded with brief, polite messages about my academic progress, sharing only what I would be comfortable seeing shared with others. 10 months into my program, I received notification that a paper I had submitted to a major conference had been accepted. This represented significant recognition in my field, as students rarely presented alongside established scholars at this particular event. The conference would be held in Boston, my first return to American soil since leaving for Oxford. I debated whether to inform my family about my return to the country. Dr. Bennett advised maintaining clear boundaries while acknowledging reality. You don't need to pretend you're not in Boston, he suggested. But you also don't need to stay in their home or subject yourself to potential manipulation. A brief meeting in a public place might be appropriate, if you feel ready. Following this advice, I sent a straightforward email. I'll be in Boston June 15th to 18th for an academic conference where I'm presenting research. If you'd like to meet for coffee one afternoon, let me know which day works best. My mother's response came quickly. We would love to see you. Any day works for us. Will you be staying at the house? I've already arranged accommodations near the conference center, I replied, establishing the boundary clearly. We agreed to meet at a cafe downtown rather than in their home territory. I arrived early, selecting a table with a clear view of the entrance and exit, a small security measure that reflected my lingering distrust. They arrived together, mother, father, and Allison, creating the appearance of family unity. My mother attempted a hug which I accepted stiffly. My father offered a handshake. Allison nodded without making eye contact. "You look well," my mother observed. "Oxford must agree with you." "It does," I confirmed. "The academic environment is exactly what I hoped for." The conversation proceeded awkwardly, filled with small talk about weather, family acquaintances, and neighborhood changes. They carefully avoided any mention of scholarships, documents, or our last confrontation at the dining room table. I similarly avoided discussing my academic success in detail, offering only general comments about enjoying my studies. After 20 minutes of superficial conversation, my father finally addressed the elephant in the room, partially. "We may have overreacted about your scholarship," he said, not quite meeting my eyes. "We wanted what was best for both our children." It wasn't an apology. It characterized their attempted identity theft and document theft as an overreaction, rather than a fundamental betrayal. It framed their actions as parental concern rather than sabotage. "Taking my passport wasn't an overreaction," I replied calmly. "It was illegal and a violation of trust." My mother's expression tightened. "We're trying to move forward, Mason. Can't you meet us halfway?" "Moving forward requires acknowledging what actually happened," I pointed out. "You didn't just overreact, you attempted to prevent me from accepting a scholarship I earned, so you could somehow transfer it to Allison, which was never possible." Allison finally spoke, her tone defensive. "I could have made better use of those connections than you are. You're just hiding in libraries while I could have been building an international business network." Her comment revealed that even now, they didn't understand that the scholarship was awarded based on specific academic criteria, not as a general-purpose opportunity to be used however the recipient wished. "That's not how academic scholarships work," I explained for what felt like the 100th time. "They selected me based on my specific research proposal and academic record. It was never transferable." The conversation deteriorated from there, with subtle accusations giving way to familiar patterns of guilt and manipulation. I recognized the tactics now, seeing clearly the emotional strings they had always used to control me. After 45 minutes, I glanced at my watch and stood. "I need to prepare for tomorrow's presentation. It was good to see you all." "That's it?" my mother asked, disappointment evident. "We haven't seen you in almost a year." "I'm here for an academic conference," I reminded her. "My schedule is full." As I prepared to leave, my father asked awkwardly, "Will you be coming home for Christmas this year?" The question hung in the air, loaded with unspoken expectations and assumptions about forgiveness and family obligation. "I haven't decided my holiday plans yet," I answered honestly. "I'll let you know." Walking away from that cafe, I felt an unexpected lightness. The meeting had confirmed what I'd gradually accepted during my time abroad. While biology made us related, their actions had fundamentally altered our relationship. I could maintain civil contact without surrendering my autonomy or compromising my well-being. The conference itself proved to be a professional triumph. My presentation received positive feedback from established scholars, leading to potential collaboration opportunities. Professor Hammond attended in person, finally meeting the Oxford colleagues he had only known through correspondence. "I'm proud of you, Mason," he told me afterward. "Not just for your academic success, but for how you've handled everything else. Many students would have been derailed by what you experienced." His words meant more than any family approval ever could, recognition not just of my intellectual capabilities but of my resilience in the face of betrayal. Upon returning to Oxford, I received an email from Rachel with a surprising update. "Thought you should know, Allison dropped out of her business certificate program after 3 weeks. She's now talking about becoming a life coach. Your parents seem less enthusiastic about this new direction. The information didn't surprise me, but it no longer affected me as it once might have. Allison's pattern of starting and abandoning pursuits would likely continue, with my parents enabling each new passion. But that cycle was no longer my concern or responsibility. As my 2-year scholarship program approached its conclusion, I received offers for doctoral programs from several prestigious universities, including Oxford itself. The path forward was full of promising options, all earned through my own merit and hard work. The painful experience with my family had taught me invaluable lessons that no classroom could provide. True support celebrates your success rather than resenting it. Real love doesn't require diminishing yourself to make others comfortable. Family should lift you up, not hold you back. Most importantly, I learned that while we can't choose our biological family, we can choose how we respond to toxic dynamics. Sometimes the healthiest path forward requires creating distance from those who should have been closest. Today, as I prepare to accept my degree with distinction, I maintain limited, carefully boundaried contact with my parents and sister. Our relationship will never return to what it was, because what it was wasn't healthy to begin with. Instead, I've built a chosen family of friends and mentors who value authentic connection over control, who celebrate achievement rather than resenting it. The passport they tried to take from me now contains stamps from conferences across Europe, research visits to archives in multiple countries, and the marks of a life lived authentically on my own terms. The opportunity they claimed wasn't meant for me became exactly the transformative experience the scholarship committee intended when they selected me. If you've ever had your achievements dismissed by those who should have celebrated them, know that you're not alone. Success doesn't require family approval to be valid. Your worth isn't determined by those who fail to see it. Sometimes the people who share your DNA aren't capable of sharing your dreams, and that's their limitation, not yours. Have you ever had family members try to undermine your success? How did you handle it? Share your experience in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more real-life experiences about overcoming family betrayal and finding your own path. Thank you for listening to my journey from betrayal to triumph, and I hope it helps you recognize your own strength in whatever challenges you face.